And we are live. Welcome to our episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. And let's get started. And we're back. Today is Friday, July 17th. So, hello to all the viewers. Thank you for joining me again today. So, we have a lot of things to discuss. So, without further ado, let's start with our first topic. So, Huawei, the smartphone giant, uh, the second largest smartphone maker, behind not only behind Samsung, is having difficulty, meaning they're being banned or they're banned in UK. Now, it all started when the rift between the trade war between China and the United States has been going. Now, with the ongoing crisis, with the pandemic and so forth, this has only exacerbated the situation that's going globally. Now, it used to be that UK was going to allow Huawei to operate or be allowed to conduct their business on a limited basis. But with the ongoing crisis, or with US pushing for more stricter banning policies, which has led us to today. So let's take a look at the article here. So as mentioned, UK is planning to purge Huawei from 5G technology by end of 2027. Even if they were to implement it today, it would take that long before they can actually or or fully implement banning Huawei altogether. Now, obviously, it started when Prime Minister Boris Johnson set the Huawei ban or the ban on Huawei with regards to the 5G technology. Now, obviously, right now, different nations at an arms race with regarding who will be the first to implement effectively the 5G technology. Wherein, when you talk of 5G network, this pertains to wireless network anywhere and anytime. So the first adopters will have a tremendous advantage over other companies as well as other nations. Now, obviously, the ban on Huawei in the United Kingdom has severe repercussions. Now, obviously, this has played out with the crackdown on Hong Kong as well as how China handled its dealings with the pandemic, damaging the relations, whether permanently or temporarily, between London and Beijing. Now, we can also see that this stems from not only is this affecting the relationship, but this has repercussions for many businesses, especially for those major telecoms providers such as BT or Vodafone. So they're still waiting to see how is this going to affect their customers in terms of, will this be only limited to the 5G technology, or will this have a far-reaching repercussion in terms of mobile devices and other devices that is linked to Huawei? Now, as mentioned by the CEO of Philip Jansen from BP, he mentions that it could take at least 5 years to be able to uh, remove the ban on Huawei, ideally 7 years. And if you're going to remove the entire product lines or all Huawei related products, it could take as much as 10 years. Now, the question here is, what will happen to those existing users or uh, people who are using Huawei products? Now, as of right now, according to BT, they have roughly about 24 million subscribers or customers that would be put into question. So how they address this, they have years to contend with. Now, according to Vodafone, on the other hand, they are also stating that if they were to remove other Huawei gear, it could cost them as much as in the single figure billions. So it's not just small amount that removing or banning Huawei altogether. Now, obviously, we have to wait and see how this plays out. But in the long run, this would hurt Huawei tremendously. Now, for the meantime, there's a positive side to Huawei if you were to look at it. What do I mean? So another article here at Reuters, it states that if China is being banned in the UK and more likely in the United States, there's still safe haven in other nations, such as in Sweden, wherein the Swedish telecom operator Tele2 is still stating that having Huawei in their region is still a viable option. Now, obviously, they mentioned that that can change depending on the scenario here. Now, obviously, Huawei's foothold in other countries will depend solely on what's the domino effect will be from other nations. So if UK is the next to fall, will India follow suit, and then other nations? We'll wait and see. Obviously, China, the government is stating that it's going to protect its interests with regards to the ban itself. Now, according to the Chief Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying told reporters that China strongly opposes Britain's decision and said that the decision was driven by politicization of commercial and technological issues and has nothing to do with national security. So whether that's true or not, what can China or the government do to help the position the way Huawei it is right now? Now, moving on, for some major tech news. Now, if you're familiar with the social media platform Twitter, uh, in a few hours ago, they were just recently hacked, right, within the day. And what went wrong here and why it matters. So according to this article, let's take a look here. So the the social media giant Twitter has been penetrated. So what happened here, you know, and you will be surprised to know or see who were the ones that were hacked. So it's not just anyone or single or a few persons were involved. It involved a lot of people, millions of people that got hacked. And not just anybody that got hacked, prominent billionaires as well as politicians were affected. So as you can see here, celebrities like Kanye West and Kim Kardashian were hacked. Politicians from former President Barack Obama and not former, but running presidential Joe Biden. Sad to say, President Trump was not hacked. But billionaires such as Jeff Bezos, Michael Bloomberg, and Tesla CEO uh, Elon Musk was hacked. So how did this happen? What has occurred? And what is Twitter going to do about it? Now, according to the article here, now people were scammed once the accounts were hacked and hijacking the account by promising to double the money from fans by sending it to cryptocurrency using Bitcoin technology here. So if you were to see here, let's take a look at an example of the Twitter here. So you can see here Mike Bloomberg, Twitter feed. It says here, I'm going to give back to the community. So all Bitcoin sent to that particular address and so forth. You said 1,000, you will get back 2,000. Now, if it sounds too good, you should question it. You know, nothing for in life is for free, and many were fooled into giving out those Bitcoins, and they were able to generate as much as a little over 100,000, thankfully. Now, obviously, things could have gone much worse, but this is what happened. It only goes to show how vulnerable Twitter was. Now, how were they attacked in the first place? Now, it could only happen two ways. Either it was an inside job or someone was able to penetrate an admin personnel in terms of gaining access to this much profile or individuals or Twitter accounts. Now, majority of nations such as the United States, Japan, Russia, and UK are major users of this said platform. Now, obviously, this is a very popular platform that has tens of millions of followers. So question is, what's the culpability of Twitter here? Now, one thing to take note, this was not the first instance where Twitter was hacked. Back in 2010, they were already hacked and they were, what was it? Let me see here. Twitter settled with the Federal Trade Commission after it was alleged hackers had obtained unauthorized administrative control, including the ability to send out phony tweets from then President-elect Barack Obama and Fox News. Now, in that case, it only involved the president and news group. Now, in this case, it affected a wider scope, and if the hackers did something more heinous, then could have been more severe repercussion. Now, obviously, this goes to show how vulnerable the social platform is, and as a consumer, or if you're a Twitterer, if that's the right term, what are you going to do? Are you still going to patronize their products? Take note, it's not just your accounts being hacked. They can tweet on your behalf, and they can gain all the information that you have tweeted all those times. So this is a very concerning, scenario, and it's a no joke matter. So it's up to Twitter to do something about it. And what will the government do? Will they provide sanctions, penalties, and so forth, so that this should not occur ever again? Continuing, so more tech news. So for those uh, who loves games or playing games, you'll be happy to know that Sony is releasing their latest generation of their PS5 or PlayStation 5 later this year. And great news that uh, there were reports that they underestimated the projection of the demand for their later release, and it was stated in the report that they're going to produce or boost their production by as much as 50%. So let's take a look here. So why is that so? Now, it was stated that earlier they were estimating that there will be roughly about 6 million consoles to be made by end of the year, which was significantly higher compared to the PS4 launch, which was roughly about a little over 4 million. Now, good news for PlayStation or Sony, the expectation now is about to reach as much as 10 million units. So even before the holidays is around the corner, they were able to get significant support from their loyal followers. Actually, I'm one of them, so I'm still deciding whether to purchase the latest iteration of the PS5. Now, as you can see here, one of the many features that is totally different from the previous generation is how the way it looks. They are calling them what do you call it? The space age black and white color scheme now. Are you in favor of this new color scheme now? Used to be simple black color. Now, one of the main features that's significantly upgrade in terms of CPU power, as well as better graphics, as well as using SSD for faster processing and faster downloading and uploading of files. Now, one to expect in terms of what games are to be released in this next iteration is the sequel from the original Horizon Zero Dawn, the Horizon Forbidden West. So a lot of people are looking forward to what's the next part, or the next part of the story. Next is a remake of Demon's Souls, which is the precursor of the popular trilogy, the what do you call this? I forgot the name. Demon's Souls. So I played that game before, and I'm looking forward how I'm going to remake it in the next generation. Okay. That's Dark Souls. So Demon's Souls is a precursor of the Dark Souls trilogy. I forgot the title of the game. So we're looking forward how are they going to implement it, and see if there's going to be a shortage by the time they release the games. Now, next is speaking of health. Now, Moderna shares jump on data from early coronavirus vaccine trial. Now, for those who are familiar, Moderna is a pharmaceutical company. So they are now in the process of producing a vaccine to fight against COVID-19. Now, they made reports that their shares have increased by as much as 10%, or 11%, which is good news if the story holds in terms of being able to provide a solution to fight against COVID-19. Now, obviously, they're still in the second stage process, or finishing the second stage, which is conducting trials on a select few, in this case 45 healthy trial volunteers, which provided a positive outcome in terms of fighting against the virus. So, which looks even promising. So their part now is to go to the next stage, which is test the vaccine on a larger scale so that they can implement it for public consumption. Public consumption. Now, obviously, they are also have to be concerned on terms of we have to be ready in terms of preparing for commercial vaccine. Now, when you talk of commercial vaccine, think of the number 500 million doses per year. So it's not enough that you're able to provide the vaccine, produce the vaccine safely, but as well as distribute it for public consumption. And not only that, obviously concerns here is not just the effectivity of the vaccine, but are there any side effects of using such medicine or vaccine? Now, as of right now, based on the second stage trials, there are little or minor side effects. The minor side effects that was mentioned were moderate reactions such as fatigue, headache, chills, muscle aches, or pain at the injection site. So it looks promising right now. So we have to wait and see what will happen when the third stage trials comes about. Now they're projecting it to be finished by year 2021. So that's a few months away from now. So optimistically speaking, one can be hopeful. But for the meantime, we're still waiting. Right? So we have to be careful in terms of protecting ourselves against the virus. Now, here for some updates. Now, with regards to TikTok, we discussed this already in your previous live stream, where TikTok was banned in the Indian market because of its association with the Chinese government with security risk concerns. So it's not just the Indian government who is banning them. Now, we discussed that the US President Trump, is thinking of banning it. So now they further discussed it that whether they should ban said company. Now, obviously, the United States government as a whole has not yet banned any such app, whether domestically or foreign. Whether there's a precedence, there might be, not necessarily the app itself, but banning such companies with the likes of Huawei, what they did before, restricting interactions with suppliers, chip makers, software developers, and so forth for Huawei. Can they do the same for TikTok here? Yes, they can talk to Google, which provides the Play Store app, and for Apple for the iStore. iStore? Play Store. So, question is, this will have a major significant repercussion for the company TikTok. Even though they're investing more in the company, actually other companies like competing companies like Facebook, which is owners of the Instagram, they're trying to capitalize on this opportunity, and other companies has a big opportunity that can fill in the gap that TikTok has left. If Indian market is a starting point and maybe other nations would follow suit, this will, bring doom to the company unless they can find a way to change course and distance themselves from the Chinese government with the image that there is security risk in terms of using said app. Now, for some local news, speaking of caring, BPI's Care bond offering that we discussed previously is attracting a strong demand, which is good news for businesses, especially for those who are the small, medium scale industry. So BPI, or Bank of Philippine Islands, has cut short the offer period for its COVID action response bonds on strong demand. Now, it has exceeded the initial planned size bond of 3 billion. So they plan to have a tenor of 1.75 years, carrying coupon rate of 3% per annum paid quarterly. Now, what does this mean? Obviously, exiting this target market would have benefits for the micro SMEs, meaning proceeds of the care bonds will be used by the bank to finance eligible micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is good news, right? So the minimum investment for the banks of bonds was set at 1 million and increments of 100,000 thereafter. So as of March this year, they've already solved 33 or almost 34 billion worth of bonds, which is more than 6 times the initial offer of 5 billion. So good news for everyone. So hopefully many micro SME businesses, small businesses can tremendously benefit from this endeavor. And finally, speaking of food, fast food groups such as Jollibee and McDonald's are tapping PayMaya for cashless transaction. So obviously, in this difficult time, in this pandemic, concerns of transmitting the virus is an all-time high. So how can we avoid, making constant contacts from one another, especially from when buying purchases items at stores or at restaurants? So PayMaya is here to help by providing cashless transaction. So the purpose of partnering with PayMaya is to tie up with fast food restaurants, as I mentioned, such as Jollibee, McDonald's, and KFC, in adopting its digital payment solution as part of their health and safety measure against the coronavirus. Now, obviously, the purpose of this, as mentioned by the PayMaya group, is to help contain the spread of the virus for dine-in and drive-through. So the fast food restaurants can deploy the PayMaya POS system. So you not only can pay cash, but you can also pay using the PayMaya POS, whether debit card, QR code, tap, dip, or using your Visa card and other forms of payment. So this can significantly lessen the chances of transmitting or spreading the virus. Now, obviously, this has more ramification in terms of application, not just for the restaurant business, but for other establishments, such as big chain restaurants, hotels, other businesses for buying products and services, so that people would be encouraged to further use this form of cashless payment, even for public transport. If that were the case, then it would be easier, right? And keeping in mind the safety of individuals, of citizens, is at the top of our minds. So that concludes our discussion for this week. So thank you for joining me today. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave your comments down below and I will get back to you. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so you can stay updated with the latest news as well as videos. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week. Same time, same channel. Take care. Let's cue in the outro.